It was July 2nd, 1992. It is known in Canada as the biggest layoff in Canadian history. That was the day that the federal government announced that there'd be a moratorium on the cod fishery in Newfoundland and Labrador. Now, if you don't know much about Canadian history, the cod fishery was sort of the backbone of the East Coast. There were so many people in Newfoundland and Labrador that relied as a food source, as a living on the cod fishery, that it was just, it was a mainstay. That was the thing that they did. Now imagine you've been told that you can't fish for cod anymore. You have generations and generations of fishing in your family history, and now you can't fish for cod. And it wasn't because it was your fault that you fished, that you overfished. You were just abiding by the quotas that the federal government set. The federal government set these quotas knowing that scientists for the federal government said that the population was declining, and politicians ignored it and decided to set the quotas at the regular quotas and allowed people to fish to that, to the point where now in 1992 there was now a moratorium. So that was huge news back in the 90s, and the cod fishery hadn't really recovered until the last 5 years. From 1990 till now, the cod fishery has been really at a stagnant state. Nobody's really fishing that much for cod. Certain areas have lifted the moratorium just for really small recreational cod fishery, but really there hasn't really been much done. And it was done because in 1990, when they would do a survey, when scientists, government scientists, and other scientists would do a survey, there would be around 3,000 to 5,000 cod caught in a survey. 5 years ago, there was a catch of 200,000 cod in this area, obviously released, but that's how much they surveyed. That's a huge increase in the amount of cod. And now there's inkling of an actual fishery. Now, of course, this time around, they got to make sure that the fishery is well sustained. Now, before they jump into another fishery, the Fisheries Union teamed up with WWF, World Wildlife Fund, to make sure that this time around they do it properly. So the team up is with other stakeholders as well from Newfoundland and Labrador, and they want to make sure that when they establish this new fishery, it's done sustainably. They listen to the science, which they should have done in the first place. But this time around, they're going to do it, and they're going to partner with a well-respected organization, World Wildlife Fund, to help them make sure that this fishery is monitored and make sure that this fishery is done sustainably. So there's a lot of mixed feelings I have about this. I mean, the first time around we did it, it wasn't really a good sign. It went from, stories of people putting, in the 1800s, of people putting a bucket in the sea and filling that bucket within seconds of codfish, to no codfish at all, or the effort to catch these cod are significantly more with better equipment. And now that the cod fishery is starting to recover, we're rushing in to getting a fishery. But the article that I read that's in the link in the description below, it says it differently. WWF is going to take their time. They're going to make sure that the science is going to tell them what they can do, what they can catch and what they can't catch, how many fish they can catch and how many fish they can't catch, and make sure that there's going to be a sustainable population so that the next year they can catch fish, the next year after that, and the next year after that, and so on and so forth. They can continually catch fish, still make a good dollar, and still be able to fish for generations to come. But I still have mixed feelings. I'm still worried about this situation. We tend to get greedy when we get into a fishery situation. I'm not saying that these fishermen are greedy, but they have to make a living. What's going to happen? Are the fish prices going to be more? I don't know. Are people willing to pay for more? I don't know. According to the article, though, it says people are searching for sustainable ways. And it's what I've covered in our podcast. By the way, Speak Up for Blue podcast link is down below if you want to check it out. But I've covered it a lot of times throughout the history of Speak Up for Blue, where people are searching for that sustainable product. They want to be informed. They want to make informed decisions on sustainable seafood. If it's not sustainable, they don't want to have any part of it. So now this sustainable fishery can be a really good marketing tool for these fishermen to sell their fish, and of course the processors to sell the fish to retailers and to the consumer. So this could be the way of the future. This could be a good thing, having a smaller fishery, not getting greedy, and making sure, maybe charging a little bit more for that sustainability product, and consumers realizing that yes, if you want good fresh cod from Newfoundland and Labrador, you're going to have to pay a little bit more money, but you know that fishery is going to last for a long time. My question to you is, would you buy fish that's a little bit more expensive, but you know it's sustainably caught? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, everything that's about Speak Up for Blue is in the comments below, including the link to the article that I found that inspired me to do this video. So thank you very much for listening, and subscribe to make sure that you see every video that I have in April. That's a vlog every day in April kind of month, and I am following that to a T. So subscribe down below, and I will see you tomorrow. Happy conservation.